Shalom Israel, Shalom, Shalom. Brother Naquam, watchman for Israel, coming back at you with these precepts and another Monday Night Fire, giving, of course, our honor and our glory to Yahweh by Shema Mashiach Malaki Bashai. Double honors to the elect elders of the house of David that's been in this truth for decades and decades, patiently waiting for the second coming of Mashiach Malaki Bashai. A hearty, mighty Shalom to all of the mighty men of the Most High God who are out there on the highways and byways, pushing this truth, magnifying the ministry, presenting their bodies as a living sacrifice, and enduring all things for the elect's sake. Shalom, shalom. Shalom to all of the men that may not be out there on the highways and byways as of yet, but they're working on it. They're getting built up in the spirit. They're praying, they're fasting, they're studying, they're being diligent and abounding in the work of the Lord. Shalom, shalom. Shalom to the ancient men, the children, the elect of Israel scattered abroad throughout the four corners of the earth. Shalom to everybody tuning in live. Yvette McKellar, Brother Azariah, Vernon Brody, Daughter of Zion, Brother Believe, Anthony Knox, Ephraimite Ak, Mina Israel, and everybody else tuning in and that will tune in, Lord willing. Right, this Monday Night Fire, the day of Simon, how to keep it, and God is not dealing with Memorial Day. Right, the day of Simon, which falls this upcoming Wednesday night at sundown, for those who are following the calendar, as well as the Most High is not dealing with Memorial Day, right? So we're going to we may dive into Memorial Day, the history of that. We may not, right? We may go into touch on it on a few precepts, but first and foremost, we want to touch on this day of Simon because Yahweh Bashmel has commanded us to keep these feast days with gladness and with mirth. We have to know who our forefathers are, who our forefathers were, what works that they have done to magnify the name of Yahweh Bashmel Shai, what salvation was wrought in their hand by the hand of the Creator, Yahweh Bashmel Shai, how they delivered Israel, time in and time out, sacrificed their bodies, their lives, and put their whole life on the line to save the church, right? So it's imperative that as much as these other nations magnify their forefathers and magnify their folly and madness that they get into with their holidays and religion, how much more the sons of God, right? The sons of the living God. So I want to go into I want to go to Ecclesiasticus chapter 44, and I want to read verse 1. Right? This is Ecclesiasticus and the Apocrypha chapter 44 and verse 1. It reads, "Let us now praise famous men and our fathers that begat us. The Lord hath wrought great glory by them through his great power from the beginning." So you have entire chapters where the Most High praises our famous men, right? Throughout Sirach 44, 45, 46, etc. on, you read about mighty men. You read about Moses, you read about David, you read about Noah, you read about Enoch, you read about Jacob, Isaac, Abraham, all of our righteous forefathers. You read about Simon, Onias, these different men. It says, "Let us now praise famous men and our fathers that begat us." Right? Again, a so-called white man, he praises his famous men. He has an entire mountain carved out with the faces of rapists, robbers, pedophiles, child molesters, and murderers, man. That has become a world attraction, which you know as Mount Rushmore, a land that they took. I believe that's in North Dakota, right? It's in one of the Dakotas, but that whole land was inhabited by the Sioux, right, which are the Gadites, other tribes of the tribe of Gad, which are the children of the Most High. They slaughtered them, raped them, robbed them, killed them, enslaved them, sold them, assimilated them, isolated them, and relegated them to a small portion of the land, took one of their mountains that was used for their purposes and carved out the faces of their oppressors in it, man. So they praised their famous men. They have their men on the back of dollar bills. They have their men on the back of that Alexander Hamilton, George Washington, Ulysses S. Grant, right? Benjamin Franklin on coins and paper bills and fiat currency. They have streets named after their famous men, states and cities, and they love their famous men, which are nothing but hypocrites and demons, right? You have to learn about their famous men in the history books from the time that you grow up until the time that you're an adult. I mean, you have been essentially brainwashed, man, to learn everything about their famous men and their fathers that begat them. But the Most High is giving you a day, which is not today, but it's Wednesday night at sundown, to praise the famous men and our forefathers that begot us. Right? Right now, we're going to focus on Mattathias, Judas, Simon, Jonathan, and the men that came out of them that wrought salvation as saviors for Israel. Right? I'm going to read Sirach 44 and 2 again. The Lord hath wrought great glory by them through his great power from the beginning, such as did bear rule in their kingdoms, men renowned for their power, giving counsel by their understanding and declaring prophecies. Right? Leaders of the people by their counsels and learning, meet for the people, wise and eloquent in their instruction. So these weren't just nobodies, man. And they weren't just leaders of a basketball team, a professional team, or leaders of a club or a gathering. These were leaders of the Most High's chosen people. Like even Solomon said, he said, how can I judge so great a people? So he prayed for a discerning heart that you read about in Wisdom of Solomon, the 9th chapter, as well as First Kings, the 3rd chapter. You know, and Wisdom of Solomon, the 8th chapter, you read about that as well. So these were leaders of a blessed, chosen people. These men set up instructions, right? These men enforced holy days. These men delivered their people from the hand of their enemies. They went to war. They killed men, women, and children of the other nations for their God and their people, right? Verse 5. Such as, and this is a beautiful, when you read Ecclesiasticus 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, all of those chapters go into our mighty forefathers, all right? Even 50, right? When you read Sirach, the 50th chapter, right? This is Sirach chapter 44 and verse 5. Such as found out musical tunes and recited verses in writing, like who? David. He wrote psalms and he played the harp. Solomon, he created and invented instruments of music, right? It says rich men furnished with ability, living peaceably in their habitations. Like who? Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, living peaceably. Other kings, right? These men are the men of renown, the men of old. And you should know your forefathers off the top of the head, man. And your forefathers, they go beyond the world of just Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. You should be able to know your kings, right? These are your kings, man. You should be able to name your kings down the line, right? You should be able to start from Saul, or you can start from David, right? But you should be able to start from Saul all the way down to Zedekiah, right? You should be able to know your forefathers from the time of Adam all the way down to Jacob. And I'm not just saying just kind of know a few here and there. Know your lineage, man, your heritage, your forefathers. An Israelite is not just, okay, I got my beard on and I don't eat pork. No, who are your forefathers? What land did the Most High give us? How was it divided amongst the 12 tribes? Where was Judah at? Where was Issachar at? What land portion did Manasseh have on both sides of the Jordan River? Where were the 6 cities of refuge at? Right? What was the journey of Abraham from Ur the Chaldees to Haran to Egypt to the land of Canaan? Right? So you have to know your forefathers, man. Like the scriptures say, the classic in Job, let's get this in Job 8, right? The classic precept. Job chapter 8 and verse 8. For inquire, I pray thee, of the former age, and prepare thyself to the search of their fathers. So you have to inquire, meaning you have to ask. You have to seek out who these men are. Hold on, let me get the brother right backstage. Shalom, King.
Shalom, King.
And so you have to inquire, man. It's not, when you inquire, it doesn't mean it's going to be handed to you. Nobody's going to hand you who your forefathers are. It's not going to be on a sheet of paper when you turn 20 years old and you're fit for war. And somebody says, here's Adam, Seth, Enos, Canaan, Mahalalel, Jared, Enoch, Methuselah, Noah, or Lamech, Noah. They're not going to give you that. You got to seek it out. You have to read Genesis, right? You have to go into the Table of Nations. You have to read the history. You have to read the writings, right? You have to read these accounts. You have to search it out. It says, I pray thee, meaning please, of the former age. So you got the present evil world. The word age represents, or it means world, right? So you have different worlds. You have the elder world during the time of Adam, right? You have the world to come, which is the kingdom of heaven. And then you have this present evil world. So you want to look out the former world or the former age. right? The pre-flood age, right? When the sons of God were walking up and down in the earth in the name of Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua. You want to inquire of the classical age, the iron age, right? The bronze age of our fathers, what they call those different time periods, right? It reads, and prepare thyself to the search of their fathers. So you have to prepare your mind because it's going to take time. It's going to take dedication. It's going to take studying these names, the dates, the maps. You have to prepare yourself and count the cost when you begin to search out your fathers. And a quick point, when you watch that movie, Antoine Fisher, the brother, he didn't know who his father was, right? But, he met his woman. He was in the Navy, right? And it kind of, the Most High put it in his heart in that movie to say, hey, look, I got to find who my father is. So he had to prepare himself. Man, this guy, he bought the yellow pages, damn white pages, right? He was calling every number. He knew how much time it would take, and he had to leave base for a minute. He had to travel. He had to prepare himself to find where his earthly father was. How much more your forefathers of old, right? Verse 9. It's like your Job chapter 8 and 9. It reads, for we are but of yesterday and know nothing, because our days upon the earth are as a shadow. So we don't know anything, man. What do you really know? Your great-great-grandfather Earl, Leroy Brown? Maybe you knew that he came from South Carolina. Maybe you knew he's from Georgia. They moved up, in the 1940s, or, you might know your great-great-grandmother. Everybody tends to know their mother's side more than their father's side due to the curses. Your great-great-grandmother and so-and-so. We don't know nothing, man. And we're not here too long. So with you not being here and longevity, being here in a brief moment of time, being here as a shadow, you have to seek out knowledge in the land of the living while you can. Because searching your fathers are going to show you how to move. They're going to tell you the things that they did wrong. You read these accounts, the sins of our kings, of our forefathers, and they're going to tell you how they repented, how they came back. Right? You're only here for such a short period of time. If you don't search out your forefathers, how are you going to learn? You don't read Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, Joshua, Judges, Ruth. You don't read these accounts. What the hell is going to happen to you, man? You're never going to know anything. Because you're not going to know what they did that was pleasing in the eyes of the Most High and their transgressions. Right? Verse 10. Shall not they teach thee and tell thee and utter words out of their heart? So when you read Maccabees, you're being taught. Doesn't mean that Judas has a textbook and he's breaking the scriptures down to you. When you read about Jonathan, you're being taught. You're being taught of courage. You're being taught of discipline. When you read about Eleazar, Onias, Reyes, these men, you're being taught based off of the example that they have set before you. And you seek your forefathers by getting into these scriptures, right? Doesn't mean you travel the earth. Your forefathers are there, and they're going to teach you and utter words out of their mind, right? But you got it, King.
Khan, that's right. And that made me think about it too. Moses, he wanted to seek out his own people when he came to age, and that's the spirit, right? Because a lot of us are lost, whatever the case may be, may not know your earthly father, but it's in your spirit to seek out your forefathers, because they're the ones that's going to guide you and teach you. Right? I want to go to the mighty book of Acts, chapter 7, right, in verse, right, number 20. Right, that's the book of Acts, chapter 7, verse 20, and it reads, it says, in which time Moses was born and was exceedingly fair and nourished up in his father's house 3 months. And when he was cast out, Pharaoh's daughter took him up and nourished him, right, for his own son. And Moses was learned in all the wisdom of the Egyptians and was mighty in word and in deed. And when he was full 40 years old, it came into his heart to visit his brethren. And that's us through the spirit, right? Because we live amongst the Egyptians, right? The so-called white man, right? We live amongst the inhabitants of this land that we're learned of, right? His Christianity, right? All of his school systems, his education, right? We've been learned up in this society, but it's came into each one of our hearts, meaning our minds, to beseech our own people. Because how much are you really going to learn in this man's system, huh? That has nothing to do, nor does it resonate with your spirit. Like you're in history class learning about wars that he's conquered, worrying about how great he is as a man and all of his heightness, his presidents, all of his princes, and all of these different things. What about your people? It came into his heart, just like it came to each and every one of our hearts, right? To visit our brethren, the children of Israel. Meaning what? To know about our forefathers, our history, the battles we won. It says, and seeing one of them suffered wrong, he defended them. So how are you going to defend your people or know about your people unless you go to visit them, man? Understand their struggles, their pains, our history, the things that our forefathers have been through, man. It says, and defended him and avenged him that was oppressed and smote the Egyptian. That's spiritual, right? Because once he tapped in to understand, to seek his own people, the Lord put a spirit on him to defend his nation, to rise up for his nation, to know more about his heritage, right? You could get up 1 Corinthians chapter 10 and verse number 6, right? 1 Corinthians, right, chapter 10 and verse number 6, and it reads, it says, now these things were our examples, to the intent we should not lust after evil things as they also lusted, right? Talking about our forefathers. There are certain things and battles they won in glory and righteousness they wrought that we could learn from, and their fall, our wicked kings, the things that they lusted for, all the murmuring, right, in the wilderness. It says, neither be idolaters, as were some of them, as it is written, the people sat down to eat and drink and rose up to play. Neither let us commit fornication, as some of them committed, and fell in one day 23,000. Neither let us tempt Yahushua, as some of them also tempted, and were destroyed of serpents. Neither murmur ye, as some of them also murmured. So all of these accounts written, not just so we can read them, so that we may learn from them. You can't just have the mentality where if it's just not a law, I'm not going to read it. How you going to build up faith? How you going to know about the accounts? How you going to know the Most High is a man of war? How are you going to know practical knowledge and sense and counsel and direction and leadership from our fathers and things of order that they established unless you read these accounts? It says, and with destroyed of the destroyer, now all these things happen unto them for examples. Meaning the Lord set up certain men that having a fall for an example. The Lord built up Pharaoh that he may destroy them, that he may declare his name upon the earth. Right? So the Most High does things in fashion for you to learn from. All these accounts of you falling down, you touching fire for the first time, it hurts. All of the accounts and things you go through in life is to learn from them. It says, and that they were written for admonition upon the ends of the world are come. It says, wherefore, let him that thinketh he standeth take heed lest he fall. Why does it say that? Because a lot of our forefathers were proud. They thought that they stood. They were kings. They were princes. They were nobles and governors, right? They were leaders of the people, but yet they failed. So all these accounts that the Most High has written down, we're supposed to read and go over year after year, month after month, right? Week after week, that we may understand the truth, right? And all of the things that our Most High has put for our learning sake. You got it.
Yeah, and Jake or Israel, you don't have no excuse. There's no excuse, man. You can't say nobody told me. You can't say I didn't know, right? You can't say I didn't know where to find this. It's right in front of you, man. Right? And our forefathers, they recorded these things. Every nation of people have records of what their leaders have done, right? Not just the so-called white man, not just the ancient Moabite man and their marvelous works and so-called things that they have done. The Most High put in our spirit, in our forefathers' spirit, to document these things for you, man, and for us. Right? I want to get this in real quick in 2 Maccabees, the second chapter. Right? This 2 Maccabees, chapter 2. I want 25. It's like, if I'm not mistaken, right? I'm gonna start at 24. 2 Maccabees. I mean, this whole thing is good, man. I'm gonna start at 23. 2 Maccabees 2 and 23. All these things I say, being declared by Jason of Cyrene, and 5 books we will essay to abridge in 1 volume. So they had a heavy documentation of what happened during the time of the Maccabees, from the time that Alexander, the so-called Greek came into power, to the time that John Hyrcanus was on the scene. They compiled it into 1 volume, right? So that they put in work. Right? It reads, same thing with the King James Bible. When you go into the Bible dictionary, it says that 47 of the best Hebrew and Greek scholars, right? They put in work. Our forefathers put in work so you can have this for you on a silver platter. You don't have to go up and take a brush and dig up in the ground and try to figure out who you are, man, and what's right and what's wrong. Our forefathers have labored to give us this understanding, right, by the hand of the Most High. Verse 24. For considering the infinite number and the difficulty which they that desire to look into the narrations of the story, for the variety of the matter. So this is a difficult thing, right? To put these scriptures together, it's not just, oh, let me just write. No, you have to have witnesses. You have to have your facts straight. You have to have been there. Or you have to have labor to seek out the men that have been there. You have to make sure that the spelling was correct. The scribes put in work. This was a tough task, man, to take 5 volumes of books, 5, and compile it into one, right? Verse 25. We have been careful that they that will read might have delight. So if you're not reading, it's like you're just spitting on all of the works that they have done, all of the sweat, all of the hard damn persecution. They couldn't just type this up on a damn computer and hit save on Microsoft Word, man. Hey, you have thieves around you. You have the other nations. We're always in captivity. Hey, you have wild beasts and all types of turmoil you have to deal with, man. For you to be able to have the writings that you have. They were careful. They were stressed. They were sitting there making sure that things were done in order. And here you are, I don't feel like reading. Simon, Maccabees, I don't feel. And your Bible's collecting dust. Man, you're essentially blaspheming the works of Yahweh Bashim Yahushua that he put on your forefathers to give you so you could be delivered. And that's love right there. We have been careful that they that will read might have delight, and that they that are desirous to commit to memory might have ease, and that all into whose hands it comes might have profit. So they gave you this to memorize this stuff, man, so it can stick to you and you can pass it down from generation to generation. Verse 26. Therefore, to us that have taken upon us this painful labor of abridging, it was not easy, but a matter of sweat and watching. And I'm still trying to figure out how can someone do that, man. You take 5 volumes of books, like those encyclopedias, volume 1, volume 2. You have to figure out what's important. What can we leave out? I can't. It's hard for a brother to put a breakdown together, man. I'll be writing the breakdown like, man, what precept do I got too many precepts. Which one do I take out? And that's just the breakdown. Imagine putting a history together. So it's a matter of, they was literally sweating and watching, man. Verse 27. Even as it is no ease unto him that prepareth the banquet and seeketh the benefit of others, yet for the pleasure of many, we will undertake gladly this great pains. And these aren't men that went to war. These aren't men that killed giants. These aren't men with a sling and with a buckler, right, who burnt towers down. This is a hard work too. This is how you build the nation. You have men that physically do the battles, and these are the other talents and gifts that the scribes had. And it's not easy to prepare a banquet, man. You got to, feast days aren't easy to plan, man. If you prepared a feast day, head counts and, money and expenses and venues and all of that, man, right? But you do it so everybody can enjoy themselves, man. They got music and food and, people can really enjoy the unity. That's how our forefathers thought, yet for the pleasuring of many. So this is sacrifice. We will undertake gladly this great pains, leaving to the author the exact handling of every particular and laboring to follow the rules of an abridgment. So they had laws that the scribes followed on how to take many books and compile them into one. Just like Esau got his laws and the format has to be, this font, double spaced, and they have his laws on how you put papers together, MLA format, and we had laws and rules on how to abridge documentation. Like one more point, like in John in the 21st chapter, John said that, hey, look, there are many things that Yahushua did that the world itself could not contain them. But he said, these things are written that you might believe. Paraphrase. Let me get that real quick. I don't want to paraphrase it too much. Let me get one more quick precept. Right, this is John 21 and 25. It reads, and there are also many other things which Yahushua did, the which, if they should be written, every one, I suppose that the world itself could not contain the books that should be written. Right? So the world couldn't contain it. So John had to follow the rules of abridging. He had to put in there what was necessary for salvation. You know how hard it had to be to write down what miracles to put when the world couldn't contain all of them. So anything you read in John, hey, it was selected by pain and sweating and watching, man. All of these gospels, all these accounts. Right, let me read this last one, Salakia. In 2 Maccabees 2 and 29. For as the master builder of a new house must care for the whole building, but he that undertaketh to set it out and paint it must seek out things for the adorning thereof, even so I think it is with us. You got it, King.
Khan, that's a mighty point, because it's a lot of miracles that Yahushua did, and it's like, you know, how to pick each one. Right. That'll pull your hair. That'll pull your hair out, man. If you was right there in person, you seen the Lord did this, then he did that. Now he on the move the next day. Don't think the Lord just did all the miracles you just see written in the book, man. He did many miracles, many things, right? So to be able to put a select amount in, you know, that's a heavy lot right there, right through the spirit. Right, I'm going to get Daniel chapter 9 and verse 2. Right, because our forefathers have always left the record. Con, you got it.
I'm gonna make a quick point. One quick point. You might doubt and think that what you put in there wasn't, you know, the top thing. You know what I'm saying? So it can stress you out. Yeah, I want to make that point.
Yeah, that's a fact. Right, it's the book of Daniel, chapter 9, and verse number 2, and it reads, "In the first year of his reign, I Daniel understood by books the number of the years whereof the word of the Lord came to Jeremiah the prophet, that he would accomplish 70 years in the desolation of Jerusalem." Right, so Daniel understood by books, understood by the records, understood by the blueprint and the things left behind by the prophets. So we're understanding to this very day on all of the books that the Most High has left behind in all of the records. And even these heathenish, the kings, they have records. Right, when you read the book of First Esdras chapter 6, right, and I'm gonna read verse 21 all the way down. First Esdras chapter 6, verse 21. Right, these heathens, they have records. Right, when you read Esther, right, the 10th chapter, verse 2 all the way down. Right, the chronicles of the kings of Persia and Medo and all of these different things. Right, they had libraries, they had books, and they had records. Right, this is the book of First Esdras chapter 6 and verse 21. "Now therefore, if it seem good unto the king, let search be made among the records of King Cyrus." So King Cyrus and these heathens, they also had records. Now, a lot of our records got burned, right? I mean, we went in slavery. They got, you know, destroyed and different things like that. So for our fathers to have kept the records and for the Holy Spirit to be put inside of Ezra to do the work of the Most High and all of these records to be saved for us to read them as it is today, you can't take or neglect that matter. That's heavy, right? There's nobody trying to run up in the Persia-Medo libraries and destroy them. Right, their records are secure in all of the different history that they had on the left-hand side of the wars that they waged and the wars that they won. Right, they have artifacts and relics and different things like that. They still have those things. It's hard for us to even type in Black history to understand what that is. All it's going to do is take you to slavery. Then you keep digging, and you keep digging, and you're trying to find out who you are. Does it start in 1619? Does it start in the 1800s? Who are my fathers? Where did I come from? Before I came, you understand, from America, where did I come from? West part of Africa. From there, where did I come from? Right? You keep digging and keep digging till you find the root, which is right in front of you, that our forefathers have been creating and writing and mapping out this whole time. It says, "And if it be found that the building of the house of the Lord at Jerusalem have been done with the consent of King Cyrus, and if our Lord the king be so minded, let him signify unto us therefore. Then commanded King Darius to seek among the records at Babylon So you had records at Babylon, you had records of Persia, Media. Like I said, when you read Ezra, the 10th chapter, verse 2 all the way down, right, you had the records of the Persians and the kings, right, in the Chronicles, right? So they had many records and many books. And so at Elpatane, right, the palace, which is in the country of Media, there was found a roll wherein these things were recorded, right? So that's why scribes are very important in the scriptures. Now you had a lot of righteous scribes, right? Let me get one more through the spirit, right? The mighty book of Matthew, I believe that's 8 and 18. Yeah, it's the book of Matthew, chapter 8 and verse 18. It says, now when Yahushua saw great multitudes about him, he gave commandment to depart unto the other side. And a certain scribe came and said unto him, Master, I will follow thee wheresoever thou goest. So this scribe, what do scribes do? They document and they write things down. Now imagine if he followed Yahushua wheresoever the Lord went, man. How many rolls could he possibly have? He'll run out of paper. Right? The Lord is sitting up there doing this miracle and this miracle. The next day, he's in Samaria. The next day, he's in Jerusalem. The next day, he's in Galilee. Right? If this scribe were to literally follow the Lord and write down all things like the precept the brother put in the book of John, Matthew, so like in the book of John, chapter 21, and verse 25, right, that the whole world couldn't contain it. So he said, I want to follow you wheresoever you goest. It says, and Yahushua said unto him, the foxes have holes and the birds of the air have nests, but the Son of Man have not where to lay his head. And another of his disciples said unto him, Lord, suffer me first that I may bury my father. But Yahushua said unto him, follow me and let the dead bury the dead. So, I mean, it was a heavy lot to follow the Lord. And how much more scribe? You understand, with all of the records, the paper, and the different things that they had to document and write down. Right, you got
it. And what was written, what we're going into, you got the day of Simon coming up, right? The day of Simon is May 29th at sundown, this upcoming Wednesday night at sundown. So every brother should be marking their calendar and keeping this feast day with joy and with mirth and with great gladness. Now, we're not going to read all of first and second Maccabees, right, in every chapter, but that's up to you to read these chapters. You know, we went through the precepts on the importance and sacrifice and labor that our forefathers took to write these things, man. Right? You read about Ezra. He stood up. They wrote over 200 books, man. Ezra and a few scribes. It says Ezra held not his tongue by night, and they wrote by day, paraphrasing, and they ate bread at night. Huh? You read Second Ezra, the 12th chapter, the 14th chapter, these different accounts. Right? So the sacrifice that our forefathers put to have these things, man. Right? You should get into reading these scriptures, right? Not only for that purpose, but also for your own learning and your own understanding, right? Now, I want to read, actually, you got it, King Salaki. I got to get this for this thing real quick. Bear with me.
Okay, come. Right, and I want to bring this out in First Maccabees, right? It's the book of First Maccabees, right? Chapter 2, and I'm going to start at verse number 50. Right, it says, now therefore, my sons, be ye zealous for the law and give your lives for the covenant of your fathers. And you want to have a father like Mattathias. Mattathias was on fire, right? Mattathias was a priest. He gave the law, right? He had zeal, right? He rebelled against the so-called white man, right? If it wasn't for him setting up his sons right before he passed away and told them, right, their strengths, right? That's also wisdom. That's how you set up a kingdom. May establish this man as a judge, this man as a leader, right? This man as a captain, this man as an officer, right? This man as a treasurer. All of these things go into running the kingdom, and he knew that through the spirit. You can't just have everybody doing what they want to do. You have to have order. It says, call to remembrance the acts of our fathers. Why is he charging them this? Because you have to remember the accounts of our fathers. Because if you don't, you're going to get weary and faint in your mind. You're not going to remember how the Most High saved Noah, how the Most High saved Moses and the children of Israel, how the Most High wrought wars and victory right through the hand of his servants and warriors in battle. If you don't remember these accounts, you're going to get weary and start to not have the belief that the Most High can do the things that you know he can do. Right? It says, call to remembrance what acts our fathers did in their times. So shall ye receive great honor and an everlasting name. And Mattathias has an everlasting name. No man could take away the name Mattathias off the earth ever again. Can't take away Judas Maccabees, man. Can't take away Simon and Jonathan. You can't take these men's names away. It says, right? I'm gonna read this 52. I'm not gonna read all the way down, but I'm gonna just read 52. It says, "Was not Abraham found faithful in temptation?" Right. So he's going into a speech, right, and exhortating his sons and the rest of the nation, right, to be zealous and be strong for the works of the Most High. And it was imputed unto him for righteousness. So if your father's sitting you down like David did Solomon, like Mattathias did his sons, like Most High willing everybody on this live that has children are going to do their children, right? How much better would our nation be? Right? The Lord said, let me get one more precept, right? In the book of I believe that's Psalms chapter 75, right? Right, Salaki 78, right? Psalms chapter 78 and verse number 5, right? And it reads, it says, "For he established a testimony in Jacob and appointed a law in Israel, which he commanded our fathers, that they should make them known unto their children." So we're commanded to teach these laws and these accounts to our children, that the generation to come might know them. Because what happened in Judges, the 2nd chapter, verse 10 all the way down, there rose up a new generation that didn't know the acts of the Most High, didn't know the miracles and the things that he wrought during the time of the wilderness, that didn't go to war, right? And the Lord had to deal with that nation, right, that generation differently than he dealt with the one before. It says, "For he established a testimony in Jacob and appointed a law in Israel, which he commanded our fathers, that they should make them known unto their children, that the generation to come might know them, even the children which shall be born, who should arise to declare them to their children," right? That they might set their hope in Yahweh and not forget the works of God, but keep his commandments. And that's what we can't do. Because in Deuteronomy, the 8th chapter, right, the second to the last verse, it speaks about forgetting the Most High. It speaks about Deuteronomy chapter 32, waxing fat and forgetting the works of the Most High. That's why we have to read these accounts and remember the works of our fathers.
And I wanna go back to this chapter and I want to read I want to jump up a little bit, right? And just to give the names of Mattathias, right, to add to what you was going into. Now, this first Maccabees chapter 2 and 1. Now, when you read the first chapter, right, you read about the history of how the Greeks came into power. They took the Persians down. You understand, and they established their kingdom from around 331 BC or so. Out of them came the Seleucids, right, the Ptolemies, the men of Cassander, Lysimachus, all of these different horns or wings that came out of the Greeks. And then Antiochus Epiphanes came out and he came into power. And he's the one that was responsible for desecrating the temple, setting up the abomination that make it desolate, and destroying Israel from off the face of the earth. Mattathias, he rose up and he rebelled against the authority of the wickedness and the wicked decrees. And he set up what you call the Hasmonean dynasty, right? And you can travel. It's not something that we were taught in this man's school system, but when you can go to any university, Harvard, Yale, Oxford, Cambridge, and you ask these top historian scholars and professors about the Hasmonean dynasty, they're going to have to admit that it was a dynasty started off with a so-called black man, Hispanic and Native American man, that overthrew the top kingdom on the earth at that time, right? With inferior so-called weaponry, a limited army, resources that didn't match to what the Greeks had, but yet they overthrew them. So Mattathias, he was the trailblazer and forerunner to establish power and sovereignty for the Jews during this time, right? This is our first Maccabees chapter 2 and 1. In those days arose Mattathias, the son of John, the son of Simeon, a priest of the sons of Joab from Jerusalem, and dwelt in Modin. And he had 5 sons, Joan, called Cadus, Simon, called Thasai, Judas, who was called Maccabees, Eleazar, called Aaron, and Jonathan, whose surname was Apphus. So he had these 5 sons, and his top sons were Simon and Judas and Jonathan. Now his other sons was mighty as well, right? But we're reading really about Simon today, because there's a feast day called the Day of Simon. Right now, Simon, he was set up, and I'm gonna jump down to where you left off, King. This First Maccabees chapter 2 and verse 64. Right, First Maccabees 2 and 64. Wherefore you, my sons, be valiant and show yourselves men in the behalf of the law, for by it shall you obtain glory. And that's how you show yourself a man, by upholding the law, not by how much money you got, how many women you got, how famous you are. You know, that doesn't make you a man. What makes you a man is what? Showing yourself mighty and valiant on the behalf of the law, right? And behold, I know your brother Simon is a man of counsel. Give ear unto him always, he shall be a father unto you. So Simon was set up as the counselor. Any type of plans, military action, enterprises, how to establish the government, the ranking, the structure, the order, right? What things should be done in the appropriate season. Simon, he was the man of counsel. So he actually was the man behind the scenes on a lot of expeditions that Judas did. When Judas fought, he sought counsel with Simon. Where Judas took this man down, he sought counsel with Simon. It wasn't just Judas just walking around and just being a one-man army, man. He consulted with his brother Simon so he can make sure that his enterprises were done in order, right? So Simon he stepped up as a father. Verse 66. As for Judas Maccabees, he had been mighty and strong, even from his youth up. Let him be your captain and fight the battle of the people. So Judas was the man of war, right? That was set up as the captain of the army. Take also unto you all those that observe the law and avenge, yea, the wrong of your people. And this is a mighty account right here, man. When you read these scriptures, you got to vision this thing, man. You got to get into this, right? You got to imagine this. The imagery should be in your mind. Don't read this like this is some book, man, that you got from Amazon. You got to picture Mattathias on his deathbed, his sons around him, man. He's probably holding on to him, and he's giving this strong counsel, you know. And he set up, as we go into Simon as a man of counsel, right? So Mattathias, when you read this account, it went from Mattathias, the power shifted to Judas, the power shifted to Jonathan, then the power shifted up to Simon, right? And I want to read one more. It reads, recompense fully the heathen and take heed to the commandments of the law. And this is our job, man. It's our job to take these instructions even unto ourselves, right? We avenge the wrong of our people, man. How do we avenge the wrong of our people? By teaching them to repent, to come back to the Most High, to put away sin, to put away religion, folly, weeds, liquor, madness, sin, and lust, man. That's how we avenge the wrong of our people, by prophesying, doing his work, and making our body a living sacrifice. And the Lord said, recompense fully the heathen. 100% give these heathen hell, man. When you're out there on the highways and byways, how do you give them hell? By saving your people out of their hands. And take heed to the commandments of the law. So he blessed them and was gathered to his fathers. And he died in the 146th year. And his sons buried him in the sepulchre of his fathers at Modin, and all Israel made great lamentation for him. Right? You got it, King.
Khan, that's right. Right, that was a mighty man of valor right there. Right, I want to get First Maccabees chapter 13 and verse 1. And we have to avenge our people. Right? We have to. Right, this is the mighty book of First Maccabees chapter 13 and verse 1. It says, now, when Simon heard that Tryphon had gathered together a great host to invade the land of Judea and destroy it, and saw that the people was in great trembling and fear, he went up to Jerusalem and gathered the people together. And that's what somebody does, then leadership and strength, right, in the kingdom. They gather all of the people together on one accord. And we try to gather together, and fast as a nation, do things as collectively in Israel. Right? We try to be able to be under one accord. It says, and gave them exhortation, saying, ye yourselves know. And if you read the book of Maccabees, you understand during times of war, Judas Maccabees, right? He gave exhortation speeches, right? Simon, Jonathan, right? These men were excellent in stirring up the people to get ready for war. Because that's what you have to do. You may be a brother right now, he's thinking about falling out the truth, right? Then you talk to him, you get on the phone with him. Hey, Ak, you don't remember the dream you had last year? And the Most High was prophesying through you very night. You saw the fire, you saw the vengeance. You don't remember that time that you gave me exhortation? Remember that time you read those 10 chapters and you gave me those precepts I needed? And you build that brother's spirit back up and you refresh his spirit, right? And a lot of brothers, they wax faint, they wax weary. They forget that they're a vessel used by the Most High as an axe, you understand, as a buckler, as a shield. And the Most High uses men, right? And it says, ye yourselves know that great things I and my brother and my father's house have done for the laws in the sanctuary. The great things is wage war. They died. They set up order. They flee, right? They believed in the Most High. They prayed. The battles also and troubles which we have seen. By reason thereof, whereof all my brethren are slain for Israel's sake. Now, a mortal man could have just been like, you know what? They done killed my father. So like my father gave up the ghost, they done killed my brother, they killed my other brother, all hell breaking loose. Right? Next thing you know, they could kill me. Right? A brother may have backed down off of that. He said, by reason whereof all my brethren are slain for Israel's sake, and I am left alone. Now, therefore, be it far from me that I should spare my own life. All right, so these men were ready to die for the law, ready to die for their nation. In any time of trouble, for I am no better than my brethren. If you have this mentality, you'll have that Deuteronomy 20 mentality. Now, you're ready to go to war no matter what's going to happen. And what happens in war? People get taken captive in war. People die in war. People get kidnapped. Women, wives get ravished in war. Right? Anything can happen in war. But you got to be ready to set your foot out there, like when you read the book of Numbers, right? Various precepts in the law, right? What goes down in battle and war. It says, doubtless I will avenge my nation. So what was on his mind was avenging his nation of all of the blood, right, that was shed for his brethren, and the sanctuary, and our wives, and our children. For all the heathen are gathered to destroy us of very malice. And when you read the chapter before this, right, I'm going to get this quick precept in 1 Maccabees chapter 12 and verse 42. I'm going to start at 41. So these heathens were very crafty when you read the book of Maccabees, man. They always sneak in and sought peace, but inwardly they were wicked and trying to overthrow our nation because they knew they couldn't go head up with us. That's why they tried these wicked tactics. Just like Esau now, they poison our food. They give us Christianity. They use all of this sorcery because you can't go head up with the men of God. It's the book of 1 Maccabees chapter 12, verse 41. Then Jonathan went out to meet him with 40,000 men chosen for the battle and came to Bethshan. So he pulled up deep, you understand. It says, now when Tryphon saw that Jonathan came with so great a force, he durst not stretch his hand against him. Meaning he knew he couldn't go to war with the men of Israel, man. And we know you know that. That's why this craftiness and this sorcery has to be played. That's why Balaam and Balak, when you read the book of Numbers, right, 22 and 23, they had to try to throw up curses on Israel because you can't beat Israel one-on-one. Not carnally, not spiritually, not in any type of way. It says, verse 43, but received him honorably. Now, we know he doesn't want to receive him honorably, but he's playing the game. He's playing the 50. He's being crafty. And commended him unto all his friends and gave him gifts and commanded his men of war to be as obedient unto him as to himself. Unto Jonathan also he said, why hast thou put all this people so great trouble, seeing there is no war betwixt us? Wherefore send them now home again, and so like and choose a few men and wait on thee, and come with me to Ptolemais, and I will give thee to and the rest of the strongholds and fortresses and forces, and that any charge As for me, I will return and depart, for this is the cause of my coming. I mean, I thought I was about to pull up for war, but I mean, it ain't going down like that. Why are we so deep? What's going on? We might as well just, a base was going on. So Jonathan, believing him, did as he bade him and sent away his hosts who went into the land of Judea. Right now, we're not going to read this whole account, but we pulled up strong over 40,000. He thought it was going to be war, but he commended them with nice words, craftiness, comely words, but all was deceit. The same way Nicanor did with Judas Maccabees. He came up with peaceable words and real soft, docile words, right? That's the book of Revelation, chapter 13 and verse 11, right? He spake as a lamb, but he's really a dragon. So that's the spirit he moved in. That's why when you go to that precept I just pulled in First Maccabees chapter 13, right? He says, now when Simon heard that Tryphon had gathered together a great host. Why is he gathering together a great host? I thought he was coming peaceably and with love and docile, and he wasn't coming for war. So that's what the so-called white man does. That's why you should never trust your enemies, right? I'm not taking my army back home. I don't care what's going on. These accounts teach us. You understand? No matter what's going on, you can't ever turn your back on this man. But you got it, King. You want mute.
Yeah, I was gonna say that, man. How many times do you read Maccabees? Like, you reading it, but you're envisioning it, and like, damn, man, you already know what's gonna happen. Right here they come, and Esau with his guile, his craftiness, his deceit, and it's really written for your learning, man. How you're supposed to deal with your enemies. That's why his father told him, fully recompense the heathen, meaning show them no mercy. Don't play around with Esau. Don't sit around and get drunk off his wine. Don't become his friend. Don't become his right-hand man. Right? Set him not by thee, man. He said, recompense fully the heathen, man. And that's beautiful instruction. So, Jonathan, unfortunately, like all of our forefathers, right, fell short, man. And he sent away his army to deal with these heathen. Right? So, Jonathan, when you read this account, he ended up getting taken captive and ultimately got slain. When you read this account. Now, this is actually I want to jump down to I want to read 52. Right? This first Maccabees chapter 12 and verse 52. Whereupon they all came into the land of Judea peaceably, and they bewailed Jonathan and them that were with him, and they were sore afraid. Wherefore all Israel made great lamentation. Then all the heathen, same thing as Psalms 83, right? Psalms to all these scriptures, right? Then Lamentations 2. Then all the heathen that were round about sought to destroy them. For, said they have no captain, nor any to help them. Now therefore, let us make war upon them and take away the memorial from amongst men. That's the same thing in Daniel. Let me get this precept in Daniel 7th chapter, right? Same thing, these heathen sought to make war against Israel, man. Right? This Daniel chapter 7 and verse 21. I beheld, and the same horn made war with the saints and prevailed against them. So when we don't have our captain, we don't have our ruler. Now, ultimate captain is who? Yahushua. Right? You can read about that in Joshua, the 5th chapter. Captain of the host of the Lord, man. Right? So Yahushua is the ultimate captain. And ultimately, if you don't have men in leadership or authority set up by the Most High, then you're going to have Israel become vulnerable by the vices and wiles of the devil and these heathen. Right? So they make war against us when our leadership is taken out. That's what a so-called white man does what he does to us now. The number one people that he attacks are the priests, right? That's how Esau, to destroy us first, he destroys our connection with the Most High. So he corrupts our pastors, our bishops, these deacons, these reverends, these men that are supposed to be the most powerful men on the earth. These pastors, if they were in their right mind and knew the truth, they would be gods on earth. And imagine they're in every hood, every city, right? Wherever Jake is at. So if they don't corrupt that priesthood, then we have a connection to the Most High. and we have power with the Most High. But if you take away our captains, our priesthood, the men of war, the men of the Lord, and you infiltrate our religion, so-called, right? And you have these pastors sell out and push a doctrine that promotes white supremacy, then you could destroy the people, right? And that's what you do in war. Two classes of people are the most important: the warrior class, right, which is the military, and their priestly class. If a nation doesn't have men that are in either office, then you're going to have your way with that nation. It's going to be a complete massacre. Because the nation, they're not going to call upon their God, and they don't have a military to defend them, right? So that's what the so-called white man, he took our military down, and he took our priests down. And that's what it's telling you in 1 Maccabees 12. They took Jonathan out. Jonathan wasn't just a captain. He was also a priest. He's a Levite. A lot of these men had dual offices, right? Simon, he was a high priest, but Simon was a captain also of the Lord's army. So when you remove Jonathan from the army, you take away Israel from the Most High as their priest, and you take away their captain, right, to fight wars on their behalf. So that's why it said they have no captain, nor any to help them. Now, therefore, let us make war upon them and take away their memorial from amongst men. So these heathen, they're looking to take away your leadership, your captains, so they can root you out the face of the earth, right? And I want to go also back to 1 Maccabees 13, right? And I believe you left off at what, like 3? No,
Yeah,
no,
like,
you read down about 8 or 9.
Yeah, con.
Right? Now, when you read this chapter, right? Well, actually, I just want to read up. We may jump around. We could read it, right? But this 1 Maccabees chapter 13 and verse 8. For they answered with a loud voice, saying, Thou shalt be our leader instead of Judas and Jonathan thy brother. Fight thou our battles, and whatsoever thou commandest us, that will we do. So then he gathered together all the men of war and made haste to finish the walls of Jerusalem and fortified it round about. I want to make another point too. The Most High, you have to step up in this truth, man. Right? If Simon didn't step up, then what the hell would happen? You got to step up to the plate. You got to get out of your comfort zone. You got to wear your mantle, like we always say, that Elisha had to wear, man. You can't just be content with you never know when it's your time to step up, man. And your time is going to come in Israel where a lot of prominent men or men of the Lord, they're going to be taken captive, gathered up in the night, snatched up in the night, tortured, slaughtered, man. And then what is Israel going to do? The leader of my camp, he's not here. Oh, where's Ariah? Well, no, man, you got to step up in this thing, right? And follow the examples of our forefathers that were of old, man. What if Joshua didn't step up, man? And the men after him? You have to step up in this truth, man. Because men come and go. Men aren't immortal, man. And we could die to death any day, man. And then what? Oh, there's no more videos. All leaders of different camps that their brothers watch, they could all give up the ghost, man. Then what is Israel going to do? Are you going to make you a camp sign and go out there and do the work? Are you going to print out some flyers, man? Are you going to go out there and labor? Or are you just going to put your head down and get rooted out the face of the earth? So there's truth also. You got to step up, man, and stir up your gift and fulfill your calling, And this truth is unpredictable, man. They didn't know Jonathan was going to die. Nobody thought Judas was going to die. Hey, this thing happens, man. The Most High killeth and maketh alive. The Lord said, time and chance happened to them all. So Judas was mighty, but he fell victim to time and chance. Jonathan was mighty. He fell victim to time and chance. A brother can be mighty in his truth. He falls victim to time and chance because man knoweth not his time. So if man don't know his time, you can't sit around and wait on this man to just, be a golden ticket. You got to step up, man. And you got to do the calling of Yahweh Bashmi Awashah. You got to put your brick in, hence the scripture, work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. So it's beautiful that Simon was able to step up into this this position that he wasn't expecting to do. But you have to do what you have to do, man. Right? I'm gonna read one more real quick. Right, verse 11. Also, he sent Jonathan, the son of Absalom, and with him a great power to Joppa, who casting out them that were therein, remained there in it. So Tryphon removed from Ptolemais with the great power to invade the land of Judea, and Jonathan was with him inward. But Simon pitched his tents in Adidah over against the plain. Now when Tryphon knew that Simon was risen up instead of his brother Jonathan, and meant to join battle with him, he sent messengers unto him, saying, whereas we have Jonathan thy brother in hold, it is for money that he is owing unto the king's treasure concerning the business that was committed unto him. Wherefore now send 100 talents of silver and 2 of his sons for hostages, that when he is at liberty, he may not revolt from us, and we will let him go. Right? But you got a king, but they held him for ransom. Right? That's what you call holding somebody for ransom. Imagine somebody taking your son, your brother, and saying, hey, look, man, we need $100,000 by midnight, or your son is dead. They show you that in the movie Paid in Full, man. You know, believe Sonny, was that Sonny? Ice.
Yeah, it was Sonny.
Oh, that was Sonny. Okay, he took that was his brother, man. He took Makai Pfeiffer brother, Mitch, man. You know, and he said, and I believe he gave him a damn finger in the mail or something. You know, and then he killed him. So he held him for ransom. And that's a tough decision, man. Right, but you got it, King.
Yeah, and the righteousness that he showed, you know, to give the money anyways for the sake of the nation, right, says a lot about his leadership skills too. You gotta make tough decisions as a leader, man. Yep. A lot of people want the glory of winning a battle, but don't want to count the cost, what it really takes, right, to go to war, man. Going to war, you may not see your wife again, your children again. You count the cost that, you know, you might die out here, man. Brothers might run away. You don't know what's going to happen when you set your hand to that plow and do the work, right, and go to war, teach. You know, this is serious. This is life or death. The Lord said, choose you this day, man. Right, so this is serious. This isn't just you just watch the videos and read a couple chapters. This is life or death. When I always think through the spirit about persecution, I always think about that. I always meditate on the days to come. Always meditating on mentally preparing myself through faith, right, and the mercy if the Most High will allow it, right, for me to be able to endure whatever may come my way through the spirit and whatever lot and cup the Most High gives me. You know, that's very important, man. I want to get this quick precept too, right, on somebody taking charge and being a leader. This first Maccabees chapter 1 and verse number 37. It says, but said, let us die all in our innocency. So what did the heathen do? They wanted to wage war on the Sabbath day because they knew we were at rest. So this is tactics of war. They know we're at rest. They know we're relaxing, right? They know that, you know, we're not going to do too much. So they try to strike us during this time. It says, but let us die all in our innocency. Heaven and earth shall testify for us that ye have put us to death wrongfully. So this is what a man is saying. But then you have another thought. It says, so they arose up against them in battle on the Sabbath, and they slew them with their wives and children and their cattle to the number of 1,000 people. Now when Mattathias and his friends understood thereof, they mourned for them right sore. And one of them said to another, if we all do as our brethren have done, meaning what? If we continue not to fight on a Sabbath day, we relax, we don't go to war, we be over righteous. It says, as our brethren have done, and fight not for our lives and our laws, the heathen, they will now quickly root us out of the earth. And that time, therefore, they decreed it, saying, meaning decrees happen over time. Like I pulled the account in First Corinthians, right, chapter 10 and verse 6 all the way down, right? These accounts were written for our learning's sake and for admonition, right? Meaning we got to learn from these accounts and our forefathers, right? So you have to take charge and say, look, we're not doing this no more, man. We got to fight for our nation. It says at that time, therefore they decreed it, saying, whosoever shall come to make battle with us on the Sabbath day, we will fight against them. Meaning man had to step up and say that. Because if ain't nobody step up and say that, guess what'll happen? More dead bodies, more slain, more children, more cattle, more destruction to our people. So rising up and making split decisions and leadership and strength and going to war and taking care of the nation, it has to be somebody to rise up and do that. It says, neither will we die all as our brethren that were murdered in secret places. Then came there unto him a company of the Assyrians, who were mighty men of Israel, even all such as were voluntarily devoted unto the law. Right? And I ain't gonna read too much through the spirit, but nevertheless, you got to rise up and make these type of decisions. Because if these men, like again, if these men ain't rise up and make that decision, more dead bodies would have happened. And you got to rise up and make decisions, man. If you don't do XYZ, that could overthrow your house. If you don't get your brother and take him out of captivity through Satan or whatever the case may be, he may die to death. Or you got to rise up. Like Paul said, I conferred not with flesh and blood. If something needs to be done righteously, like Nehemiah, hey, go and do it. You got it.
Yeah, I mean, everything's not let me sit there and fast on it, right? But, I'm trying to figure out my son, his head is bleeding to death. He's gushing out blood. He's saying, Dad, what do I do? You say, well, hold on, son, let me fast on it, right? Let me figure this thing out. Let me call the brother, right? This brother not answering. There's blood all on the floor. You're going through all of your contacts, trying to find what brother to call, man. Right? You can't be a fool in this thing. Right? Yeah, that's why prudence is very important, man. And wisdom and discernment. Like the Lord says in Isaiah, let me get this real quick precept in Isaiah 11 chapter. Right? This Isaiah chapter 11, right? In verse 3. And shall make him of quick understanding and the fear of Yahweh. And he shall not judge after the sight of his eyes, neither reprove after the hearing of his ears. So the Most High, this is a prophecy about Yahweh Shah, right? And this is a trait or a spirit that all brothers should try to have, be of quick understanding, right? Because matters happen in life and death. Your house could be on fire any second, God forbid. You could be at camp. It could be a shootout. It could be a brawl. And brother, we gotta figure this thing out, man. We don't have time all day to be trying to, let's cast a lot. Right, brother, he looking for something to cast a lot with. He's fumbling the thing and pick it up. He's sweating. The army's approaching more and more. He's trying to cast a lot. You slip out his hand, and all of the men of the Lord get slain out there, right? Right. So you got to be able to, like we're going into, part of this truth is about being having that discernment. Now I want to get another quick precept in Wisdom of Solomon, and that's something that Judas had, Simon had. And that's a beautiful spirit and gift to pray for, that the Most High gives you a discerning heart, right? This is Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 8 and verse 10. For her sake, I shall have estimation among the multitude, and honor with the elders, though I be young. I shall be found of a quick conceit and judgment, and shall be admired in the sight of great men. And this is a spirit that a king has. A Solomon had to, what they call, split the baby, man. Quick decision. You understand? David, he had to figure out, does he tarry at Jerusalem when Absalom is about to overthrow the city, or does he flee into the wilderness? That was a quick decision, man. He said, lest we be overthrown and there be much bloodshed in the city. So he had to think about the law. He had to think about Numbers 35:33 for blood to follow the land. He had to think about the city being destroyed. He had to make his body a sacrifice and get out of there. He had to take his family. He had to figure out what to do with his concubines. And that was in a matter of seconds, man. You have to be able to analyze and process laws, commandments, all of this in a matter of seconds. Like a computer, it's quick, man. You hit a button and you get to where you got to go. And that comes with wisdom, through the spirit. It says, I should be found of a quick conceit and judgment, and should be admired in the sight of great men. When I hold my tongue, they shall bide my leisure. And when I speak, they shall give good ear unto me. If I talk much, they shall lay their hands upon their mouth. You see that? So you want to have the gift of the tongue to provide counsel and judgment. And more importantly, you want to have quick conceit and judgment. And this was Simon had, and that's what made Simon one of the a mighty leader for Israel, man. Right? So let's go back to this in a real quick in First Maccabees, right? 13, right? First Maccabees chapter 13 and verse, I'll read 17. It reads, hereupon Simon, albeit he perceived that they spake deceitfully unto him, yet sent he the money and the children, lest peradventure he should procure to himself great hatred of the people. And this is, I always think about this account in certain matters because I was talking to a brother about this earlier about this decision with Simon and Jonathan. Because you might be mad, well, he knew that he was lying to him. Why would he send him the money? Right? He should have just said, hey, look, I'm not sending you the money. Well, that's what you say, man. But Simon had to think about his position in his office. A lot of decisions that he had to make, or that a brother that's a leader or leadership has to make, you have to think about, you have to count the costs, right? You have to weigh things in the balance, and you have to have a level of discernment to determine what things are going to have more long-term profitability as an investment and what things are not. So if Simon was to not send the money because he knew that the enemy was lying to him, all of the people would hate him. And that decision would have done more harm than good, even though he would have did what was right. But the profitability landed in the balance would have been unjust. So if he got great hatred of the people because they love Jonathan, how would he be able to lead the people after he paid the ransom? It wouldn't make any sense. Here you paid the ransom, or it's like you didn't pay the money, right? Because you knew it was deceit. But the people are trying to figure out, well, what the hell is going on, man? So how are you going to lead them to battle and lead them in this war, but yet you have lost the love of the congregation? So you have to weigh the love of the congregation for profitability for him and his sons and his sons' sons, and he had to weigh it in the balance with Jonathan. And that's probably one of the hardest decisions a leader had to make in the entire Bible, man, in my opinion, because his own brother was taken captive. So like we go into this quick conceited, this is a big deal, right? One more, it reads, who might have said, because I sent him not the money and the children, therefore is Jonathan dead. So he had to send him the money, take a hit out his treasury. He gave the money knowing the enemy was lying to him, but the people were satisfied. So he had to think about not only him, but if he procured hatred to the people, how would they follow him and his sons when they were dead? The whole nation would have been overthrown. And that's a tough decision right there, man. Right? Hey, but leaders have to make these tough calls. And you may not agree with it, man. Right? But hey, guess what? You're not in that office for a reason. Right? But you got it, King.
Khan, that's right. That made me think of David when all the people speak about stoning him.
Yep.
Right now, he was catching all of that hell. I mean, people will turn on you, man. You could be the king today, and they could want to kill you tomorrow. Right. So those decisions and things that happen is going to all fall on the king. And you know that through the spirit, because all things fall on the man when the bills ain't paid. All things fall on the man when, the children are hungry. Things are going to fall on the man, right? Whether you're a father, a husband, and or a leader, right? Through the spirit. Right. I want to First Maccabees chapter 16 and verse 1. So Simon had the same spirit his father gave to him before he gave up the ghost. And that just shows you, the spirit that they all moved in. This is First Maccabees 16 and 1. Then came up Jonathan from Gezerah and told Simon his father what Scribes had done. Wherefore Simon called his two eldest sons, Judas and John, and said unto them, I and my brethren and my father's house have ever from our youth unto this day fought against the enemies of Israel. And these things have prospered so well in our hands that we have delivered Israel oft times. But now I am old, and ye be God, and ye by God's mercy are of a sufficient age. But ye instead of me and my brother, and go and fight for our nation, and the help from heaven be with you. Right now, your grandfather, when he dies, I mean, what happens? You don't even call him. You barely talk to him. He don't leave you a will. He gives you no direction. Right? Our nation is destroyed. It used to be like when David was about to give up the ghost, he talked to Solomon. Right? When Tobin and Tobias, right? You have Simon, right, and his children, right? All of these different things, Judas and John, right? When you before you give up the ghost or get to a sufficient age, right? Like the brother pulled a precept earlier, Job 8:8. You have to quiet, I pray thee, of the former age, and prepare thyself for the search of thy fathers. Because your father's going to teach you ancient wisdom. He's going to teach you ancient wisdom. He's going to give you exquisite parables. He's going to show you battle, the things that he's lost from, and the situations that may not have been good that he took, right, for you to take another way. And he's going to set you up in the way you ought to go, like Mattathias did his sons, and like Simon is doing his sons. Right? I'm going to read 3 again. But now am I old, and ye by God's mercy are of a sufficient age. Be ye instead of me, right? Meaning take my charge and my brother and go and fight for our nation and help, and the help from heaven be with you. So each one of the times that they gave up the ghost, it was always somebody to stand up in their stead, stand up in their stead, stand up in their stead. And that's the spirit that we got to be in, that next man up, man, because you never know, like we saying, when you're going to give up the ghost or when the Most High is going to take you. How about you wanted to bring that out through the spirit?
Come. And they had that's generations, man. From Mattathias. You know, Mattathias was taught by his father, man. Mattathias to Simon to John. And you read that, I had that actually pulled up that this Hasmonean family tree, man. When you look up the Hasmonean dynasty, I mean, this is years and years. Mattathias, right? All the way down to Simon, right? Down to John Hyrcanus, right? Down to Antigonus, Aristobulus, Alexander Jannaeus, all the way down. So they had these men that were set up. Even after John Hyrcanus that we read about in 1 Maccabees 16 gave it the ghost, he passed it on to his sons. Now, eventually his sons started going off and, you know, started having a civil war amongst themselves, but they did pass down that knowledge and that understanding of who their enemy was, man. Right? But eventually, you know, they let Esau in and all hell broke loose and they started waxing worse. Right? But from the time of Simon and John, they was on fire. Even a little bit of when Aristobulus and Alexander Jannaeus, right, who did a lot for Israel. So they, like the Arai was saying, they passed this stuff down from generation to generation to generation. That's what 4 generations: Mattathias, Simon, John, Alexander Jannaeus, Aristobulus, all these different men. You know, and they did great things for their nation, man. When you look up the let's see, Hasmonean. I want to see the I'm gonna pull this up on the map. Dynasty on the map. You can see what they did for their nation throughout time. So Salak, let me pull this up. And it shows how they expanded throughout the ages. So here's the map legend or map key. Everything in that bright peach kind of color is how they were at the beginning. And then it shows you how they expanded by each color code. And after Alexander Jannaeus is everything they took in the purple. So look how they started. They had Jerusalem, then they expanded. As the colors get darker, it shows throughout time, as the generations of the Maccabees go on, how much land they conquered. And Alexander Jannaeus put in work. So he had everything in the purple, you know, and he essentially restored that kingdom, huh? From Dan to Beersheba, Hamath down to the river of Egypt. And this was in a matter of years. And the so-called white man won't talk about that. How a bunch of what you call Haitians today overthrew the so-called white man. Because all these men were Levites. They were all Levites, man. Priests. You know? So they were putting in work, right? Generation after generation. They took over that entire land out of the hand of the #1 military at its time, right? And if you study contemporary history, you would know that they were again, contemporaries with the Roman Republic. The Maccabees or the Hasmonean dynasty were strong allies with the Roman Republic. You can read that in First Maccabees 8, First Maccabees 12. So this wasn't just a thing in the dark, us overthrowing the Greeks. Everybody knew about it. The Romans knew about it. These scholars knew about it. That's why they fear us to this day. They know what we can do with limited resources, man, with limited weaponry. That's why they control and they try to break us down with the food and the air and the water and the education that they go through everything. They pull every card out, man, because they refuse to have another revolt like this all over again, man. So I wanted to go back to First Maccabees real quick, chapter 13. Right, going back to First Maccabees 13. I'm gonna jump down a little bit, right? When you read this account. Now, this is First Maccabees, chapter 13, and I want to jump down to verse 25, right? First Maccabees 13 and 25. Then sent Simon and took the bones of Jonathan his brother and buried them in Modin, the city of his fathers. And all Israel made great lamentation for him and bewailed him many days. Simon also built a monument upon the sepulchre of his father and his brethren, and raised it aloft to the site with hewn stone behind and before. So he was an architect too. Remember, a lot of our kings, they weren't just slaying Goliath with a sling stone and going back and hiding in the cave. And these men were architects, they were builders, they were engineers, right? They were botanists, they were husbandmen, they were priests, they were fathers, they were leaders of the people. They weren't just one-dimensional, right? You don't want to be a one-dimensional man. You can't build nothing, you can't fix nothing, but you know all of the breakdowns, right? You're out of shape, you can barely walk up a flight of stairs, but you can read the book of Genesis. Well, brother, when somebody, God forbid, try to harm your family, you're not going to be able to read Genesis, man. And you're going to have to do what you got to do, man. We're going to be pilgrims on the earth, man. All these Big Macs and, hey, these men were men, man. Hey, to know how to build, you got to know mathematics, physics, engineering. And you didn't have to go to Harvard to know this, man. This is our forefathers were wise men. They were geniuses, IQ off the charts, intelligent men. Right? Let me read 3 more. It reads, moreover, he set upon 7 pyramids, one against another, for his father and his mother and his 4 brethren. Now, the so-called white man, he can't build a pyramid. Even to this day, he's trying to figure out how in Egypt, how did they build those pyramids? He said aliens had to come and do it. There had to have been some type of external life force to build the pyramids in Egypt. Right? He still doesn't know. Let me see. Let me type that in real quick. How were the pyramids built? Look, scientists and engineers are still debating. It's been 4,000 years. But they're still at odds on how could this be built, because they can't do it. Simon, he built 7 of them just like that. Scientists and engineers are still debating exactly how the pyramids were constructed. It is generally believed, they don't know, that the Egyptians moved massive stone blocks to the height along large ramps, greased, so they don't know, greased by water or wet clay, using a system of sledges, ropes, rollers, and levers. So they don't know, they don't know a damn thing, man. Oh, you got it, King.
Khan, I was about to say they just winging it.
Yeah, they don't know. They can't build that. And for them to have 4,000 years of all of these so-called wise men that still not have an answer, yet Simon, he built 7 of them back to back to back to back to back to back. Easy. So Simon, that's why Mattathias, he said that man is a counselor. So Simon, he had a lot of wisdom. You know, he wasn't just killing heathen. This guy, he was a what you call a polymath. When you look up the word, let me pull this word up real quick. This is what you call a polymath, right? A polymath, a person of wide-ranging knowledge or learning. Poly meaning many, math meaning learning. So a polymath is somebody that they know science, botany, engineering, physics. They can know martial arts, right? They could, like David. David was a polymath. He was a prophet. He was a king. He could kill people, right? He could sing. He could dance. He could prophesy, right? There's nothing that David couldn't do, man. He knew the law as an angel of God. He had discernment. He was handsome. You know, what does it say? One of my favorite accounts, how they describe David. One of the men of Saul said, he's cunning and plan. He's a man of war. He's has a beautiful countenance. He said, and the Lord is with him. Paraphrasing it. So certain of our forefathers, there was nothing that they couldn't do. But now you got Jake. Jake is one-dimensional. You might just know how to dribble a basketball. Or brother might just know how to do this, man. You gotta elevate, man. And this thing. You got it.
I'm gonna read it for you. This 1 Samuel chapter 16 and verse number 18. And it reads, Then answered one of the servants and said, Behold, I have seen a son of Jesse, a Bethlehemite, that is a cunning and plain and a mighty violent man, and a man of war, and prudent in matters, and a comely person, and the Lord is with him.
I mean, you can't beat that, man. Right? You can't beat that, man. He was cunning and plain, mighty valiant, he killed bears, he killed lions. He was a man of war, so he knew strategy, tactics. To know war, you gotta know the terrain. Can I fight in the sand? Can I fight in the mud? Okay, I can't fight in the mud with my horses because they're gonna get stuck in the mud. We're gonna fight in the open plain, the valleys. He was prudent in matters. He was a handsome man, and more importantly, the Most High was with him. So Simon had that, that kind of that same spirit of David, man. And a lot of our forefathers were like that. And that's why it's important to pray that the Most High, maximize your talents. He gives you these gifts to benefit your people, your household, man. And it's important that brothers learn too, man. Learn how to do certain things for the nation, man. For your household, right? Yeah, brothers that know all this stuff, but they can't handle money. So they always poor, or they're always trying to figure this thing out. Or brothers, they can handle the money, but the brothers don't know the scriptures, right? Or the brother, he don't know how to put nothing together, man, right? So you got to kind of know what's going on in this thing. Let me read one more. First Maccabees 13:29. And he made, it's supposed to be cunning devices, about the which he set great pillars, and upon the pillars he made all their armor for a perpetual memory, and by the armor ships carved, that they might be seen of all that sail in the sea. And every time I read this, I don't know how he did this, because these things had to be that tall of a lighthouse, maybe like 50 to 75 feet tall. To be seen by the sea, they had to be tall. But he put like their armor, like when you watch you go to like the Hall of Fame and they got like this guy's cleats, or they might have this jersey hanging up, or his helmet, right? Or his damn gloves where he scored the game-winning touchdown, but it's in like this glass box and it got the light shining on it. But he built that like 75 to 100 feet tall, with light shining on it and great pillars. So when everybody was sailing hundreds of miles away, they can see these great pillars, right? So, they don't even have that stuff now. But you got it, King.
Yeah, that's mighty. Where I want to pick up through the spirit, it's the book of First Maccabees, chapter 14, right? In verse, I'm gonna start at verse number 3. Right? I'm gonna start at 4. It's First Maccabees 14:4. It says, As for the land of Judea, that was quiet all the days of Simon, for he sought the good of his nation. in such wise as that ever, so like evermore, his authority and honor pleased them well. Right. So the Lord said, all the days of Simon, right, it was good and peaceable for the nation. Because when you have a wicked king and a wicked ruler, what does that mean for the nation? The nation is overthrown, right? Men are fools. The land is given to idolatry, drunkenness, whoredom, right? And no vision by the prophets, right, that are going to be executed in judgment by the king are going to he's ever going to listen to, right? Because you had Jeremiah, you had a lot of righteous prophets that prophesied to the kings and they turned their ear from him, man. And they told Amos to go, right, and get the hell out of the land, right? They hate him that rebuketh in the gate. But during his time and his reign, it was all peaceable. It says, wise and forevermore, his authority and his honor pleased them well. So his authority pleased them well because he judged righteously. A lot of men, they judge off of emotions and they judge off of how they feel. When they overthrow their household, they overthrow a nation or they overthrow a congregation. Because you bumping heads, you judging for hire, you're doing things out of your own lust, you're abusing your authority. No, even Paul said, I would not over abuse my authority, paraphrasing greatly in the book of 2 Corinthians, right, chapter 10 and verse 8 all the way down. And as he was honorable in all his acts. So everything he did, from his speech, right, to the way he walked, it was something to admire and to image after. Like the Lord said, look to our father Abraham, right, and our mother Sarah. Because Abraham, he builded, he was a warrior, he was a leader, he was a father, he's a friend of the Most High, right? He built up altars, he called upon the name of the Most High. And some of our forefathers, they were just completely perfect. It says, and as he was honorable in all his acts, so in this, that he took Joppa for an haven and made an entry, right, entrance to the isles of the sea, man. So he opened up the entries of the isles of the sea so ships could come in and out, man. So like the brother going into, right, he wasn't just a warrior, right? You have certain men, they just carnally go to war, but then you have certain men like David, he was an architect, right? He scribed out things, right? He wanted to open up borders. He wanted to build up towers. These men, they really wanted to enlarge their nation. And that's how we are in the spirit. Now, we may not have the resources nor the amount of men and warriors that they did have in the ancient world, but hey, we coming back through the spirit, man. Brothers are building up camps, setting order, right? Brothers are getting revelations and visions by the Most High and judging, just like our forefathers have done in the days before, right? I'm going to hold this real fast, and I want to get 2 Chronicles 19, I believe in verse 5. All right, 2 Chronicles chapter 19. And I want to come back to this, right? So it's the book of 2 Chronicles chapter 19, verse 5. It says, and he set judges in the land throughout all the fenced cities of Judah, city by city. Meaning when you're setting order, you got to set up judges. You got to set up certain men to help rule so that your nation can be developed. And he said to the judges, take heed what ye do, for ye judge not for man, but for the Lord, who is with you in the judgment. So if he was prudent in all matters, every judgment and every decision he made, he didn't just judge for himself, he judged for the people and for the Most High. Because if he would have judged off, they could have laid something to his charge and it could have been a sedition and the whole nation could have been overthrown. It says, wherefore, now let the fear of the Lord be upon you. Take heed and do it, for there is no iniquity with the Lord our God, nor respect of persons, nor taking of gifts. Moreover, in Jerusalem, did Jehoshaphat set of the Levites and of the priests and of the chief of the fathers of Israel for the judgment of the Lord. So who's for the judgment, right? The Levites. Who are the Levites we're reading about? Simon's a Levite, right? Mattathias, right? Judas Maccabees. But chiefly the one set to be a counselor, he's for what? Judgment. So even in the ancient world, these men, the Levites, the priests, they were set up for judgment. They were set up for rulers, right? It says, and the chief of the fathers of Israel for the judgment of the Lord and for the controversies, because all hell may break loose. Like the brother pulled the account where they had kidnapped, right? And now what are you going to do about it? Are you going to give us the talents of silver or not? And controversies and uproars and all hell may be breaking loose, whether it be at the hand of the enemies or whether it be your own people. Or like Solomon had to make quick judgment. That's controversies in the land. it says, when they returned to Jerusalem, right? I wanted to go back and finish that through the Spirit. First Maccabees chapter 14, right? In verse number 5. It says, as he was honorable in all his acts, so in this, that he took Joppa for an haven, and made the entrance to the isles of the sea, and enlarged the bounds of his nation, and recovered the country, and gathered together a great number of captives, and at the dominion of Gazra and Bashura and the tower, out of which he took all uncleanness, neither was there any that resisted him. Why? Because the Most High was with you. When the Most High is with you, like David, like Solomon, or like a lot of our forefathers, right? You're not going to fall in battle. You're not going to be destroyed. You're not going to be overthrown. You're not going to be died and killed and slain, right? And visited by the Lord through your iniquities and destroyed when the Most High is with you. I believe, I can't think of the precept off the top of my head, but it says in Maccabees, for the Lord was with them because they had the holy seed, or something to that effect through the Spirit, right?
First Maccabees 5.
Come, right? Yeah, I mean,
I got you.
come, all praise to the Most High. So they had the holy seed of the Most High being with them, right? That's spiritual right there. Everybody not set up to lead. Everybody not set up, you understand, to rule. So you got to know the Spirit, right? Let me bring this out real fast. This First Maccabees chapter 5 verse 62. Moreover, these men came not of the seed of those by whose hand deliverance was given unto Israel. Because these men, these captains of the host, they overthrew themselves trying to be valiant in matters that didn't pertain unto them. Certain men aren't just judges, right? Certain men aren't princes and rulers and kings. Right? So the Most High setting up the judges. He set up these Levites. He set up these men to rule. He set up the councils, right? That's why it says whose hand wrought deliverance. It says by whose hand deliverance was given unto Israel, right? We can go back to it.
Okay, you want to go back to First Maccabees 14?
Yeah, get a couple more on that through the Spirit. Right? It's the book of First Maccabees chapter 14, right in verse number 7. It says, and gathered together a great number of captives in that dominion of Gazra and Bashura and the tower, out which he took all uncleanness. So he cleansed the temple, he cleansed the towers, neither was there any that resisted him. Then did they till the ground in peace, and the earth gave her increase, and the trees of the field her fruit. Right? How is the trees of the field going in Jerusalem right now? Right? It's like a desert. Right? When righteousness is in the land and righteousness is sold, the earth giveth her increase. It says the ancient men sat in all the streets, communing together of good things, and the young men put on glorious and warlike apparel. They sound like the kingdom. So when righteousness is in rulership, you understand, and righteousness is set up, you have order. Khan, you got it.
Yeah, that's the precept in Proverbs, right? Chapter 29. Let me get this real quick. It's Proverbs chapter 29 and verse 2. When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. But when the wicked beareth rule, the people mourn. Why do you think you have depression in this society? A high suicide rate, a damn infertility rate, man. Why do you think you have damn mourning and crying and damn sadness and t-shirts with names on it and dates of young Israelites and madness and folly, man? Because the wicked beareth rule. When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice, man. Hey, you had a great depression. There's a time period in this man's kingdom called the Great Depression. It was nothing but mourning, suicide, starvation, poverty, and just outright just damn emotional damn madness, man. The Great Depression. That's when the so-called white man was ruling. He started that. He started pulling the money out and causing the banks to go under, and all of the people began to mourn, man. That's what this damn devil does. You got to go through a Great Depression, a recession, inflation, taxes, bills, stress, interest rates, usury. You're not going to have a Great Depression when Yahweh Shah is running the government and the authority. You're not going to have a recession. Oh, here comes a recession. We've been in the kingdom 400 years. Oh, the economy's going under. No, man. Because the righteous man is in authority. And he's going to get counsel from Yahweh by Shem Yahushai. Right? And wise men are going to run the earth according to the law. Right? The wicked aren't going to run the earth according to the law. They're going to run it according to their own emotions and their own belly. That's why even the earth is mourning right now. You read about that in Isaiah 14. The Lord said that even the trees are going to clap their hands, even though that's going into other nations. But the earth is going to rejoice, man. You know, the earth is a spirit within itself. There's a spirit on the earth, man. Amongst the trees, amongst the grass, amongst the beasts of the field. The young lions, they seek their meat from the Most High. These beasts and things, they all know about the Lord, man. Right? But that's why all of the animals are hiding out. They're going extinct. It's all madness on the earth. Like the Lord said in Psalms, right? 82, real quick. Psalms chapter 82 and verse 5. They know not, neither will they understand. They walk on in darkness. All the foundations of the earth are out of course. Everything's out of order, man. You got animals that should be living in the rainforest. They living in the damn desert. You got damn snowstorms in the desert, right? You got floods in places where it shouldn't be a flood. You got earthquakes in places that shouldn't be an earthquake. You got tornadoes in places that never had a tornado before. You got polar bears, they swimming in a damn ocean trying to find a damn block of ice to dwell on, right? You got animals locked up in zoos and trying to claw their way out. And you got damn dogs eating burgers and cats eating French fries. And it's all types of madness on the earth, man. The Most High set the dog up to eat a damn cheeseburger. The giraffes, they damn neck all broke because they locked up in the damn cave. The chimpanzees, he's doing stuff on a computer with damn stuff stuck to his head, running experiments. They got rats all in the damn maze, stressed out, dying, man. Cloning people. You got people. You got this one brother. He took a kidney from a pig and they put it inside of his body. He had you heard of that, King?
Yep.
He had a pig transplant, man. Let me pull that up real quick.
I believe he gave up the ghost.
Yeah, he's dead, man. He's out of here, right? I think he only lasted a few months. So when did the Most High say do this? The first person to receive a genetically modified, look at this guy, right? Why did Jake have to be the first person? They've been wanting to try this. They said we got to wait till we can do it on the Israelite, right? Now, it's from a few weeks ago. The first person to receive a genetically modified pig kidney transplant has died. Hey, the Most High the Lord said in 1 Corinthians 15, all flesh is not the same flesh. For there is one kind of flesh of beasts, another of birds, fishes, In 1 Corinthians, 15 or 32 on down. So you're not supposed to take a pig kidney, man, something very unclean, and put it in the soul of a vessel of a man. So he's out of here. Rick Slayman, he's gone. And they probably convinced him, this is all we have. We can't find another kidney. You're going to be, your name's going to be written in every textbook and as a memorial for one of the first men to be an innovator of science. And you'll receive the Nobel Peace Prize of, scientists and top men of renown. And you'll get a Medal of Honor from the president. And they probably bigged his head up, huh? Free insurance. You don't have to pay for this. Free Medicare, Medicaid. Jake don't know what's going on. Big Macs. And then this guy took the pig kidney, man. So he's completely out of order. He's out of order, man. Right? So, the Most High said all the foundations of the earth are out of course. Right? And then they crossbreeding. It's just madness. So that's why it's beautiful when you read this account at 1 Maccabees 14 about how the earth was in order because the righteous are in authority. Now I want to jump down to the point real quick at 1 Maccabees 13, real quick. Right? 1 Maccabees chapter 13 and verse 50. I'm going to start at 47. 1 Maccabees 13 and 13 and 47. So Simon was appeased toward them and fought no more against them, but put them out of the city and cleansed the houses wherein the idols were. Salakia. And so entered into it with songs and thanksgiving. So he praised the Most High too. And he had songs. He had a playlist, man. You know, how to praise the Most High. Yeah, he put all uncleanness out of it and placed such men there as would keep the law. So he had discernment. He knew the men that was around him and made it stronger than it was before and built therein a dwelling place for himself. So part of being a leader is making things stronger than they were before. Making your wife stronger than she was from the day you met her. Your children stronger than the day by day. Making yourself stronger, your household stronger, right? A good example of a leader is not how strong he is, but how can he make the men around him strong? Those are the true signs of a great leader, right? And make the environment around him that was weak, he can build it up with knowledge, prudence, and understanding, right? So he was able to exemplify these traits as a leader, and he set men up that knew the law, taught them the law, made the tower stronger than it was before. Right. And then he himself, he knew his honor and preeminence and authority. So he built the dwelling place for himself. He wasn't just sitting out in the damn, I'm Simon, I'm just too humble, I'm just sitting in the dust and ashes. No, he made a place for himself, man. You know, he knew his worth, for lack of better terms, and what he meant to be in that position. Verse 49, they also at the tower in Jerusalem were kept so straight that they could neither come forth, nor go into the country, nor buy, nor sell. Wherefore they were in great distress for want of victuals, and a great number of them perished through famine. Then cried they to Simon, beseeching him to be at one with them, which thing he granted them. And when he had put them out from thence, he cleansed the tower from pollutions. And he also cleansed things, man. Like you cleansing your spirit or cleansing your household, removing infirmities, anointing your family, right? Anointing your children with the holy oil, praying over them, singing songs of praise, removing wickedness from your house, man. Right? These are the things that Simon did. Verse 51, and entered into it the 23rd day of the second month, in the 170 and 1 year, with thanksgiving and branches of palm trees, and with harps and cymbals and viols and hymns and songs, because there was destroyed a great enemy out of Israel. He ordained also that that day should be kept every year with gladness. Moreover, the hill of the temple that was by the tower, he made stronger than it was. So he was known for making things stronger than they were before. And there dwelt Slakia, and there he dwelt himself with his company. And when Simon saw that John his son was a valiant man, he made him captain of all the hosts and dwelt in Gazra. He knew how to set up leadership and put men in offices to benefit the kingdom. And that's what the day of Simon goes into, and to the time of Simon establishing rulership and sovereignty for his people. Right? But you got it, King.
Khan, I was about to bring out that precept through the spirit.
Khan,
that was a mighty account. And yeah, like the Lord said, you know, through the hand of our forefathers, you have to turn up with mirth, right? So don't bring your problems and your situations and your afflictions, right, in this day that we're approaching. You most definitely want to forget all of that and remember the accounts of our fathers. You don't have a day of Simon 7 days out the year, or you don't have a Passover 15 times out the year, right? Whenever these high holy days are, make sure you're preparing yourself, getting your spirit together, right? The Feast of First Fruits is approaching through the spirit, right? Pentecost, right? The day of Simon draws nigh, right? Get yourself together, read these accounts, right? You most definitely want to turn up with mirth before the Lord, but you don't want to turn up in mirth and not know the accounts and the history, right? And the reasoning behind why you're even gathering together, right? With your congregation or with your household, right? Or your family, whatever the case may be. So I just want to just say and exhort the nation as well to read over these accounts. You don't just have to read it one time, The more you read, the more the Most High shows you things. There is no you read the book of First Samuel and that's the end all be all. The next time you read it, you may find out history or the accounts, geography. You may see something twofold. So the more you read, the more the Lord is able to sup with you. And that's spiritual because, people, they marinate food and they leave it in the freezer, man, or they leave it in the refrigerator. To them seasonings and them smells and everything all right, and then they cook it, right? Then they'll freeze it, bring it back out, whatever the case may be, and eat it again. All right, so you want to make sure, right? If anybody had a grandmother, to kind of freeze some old greens, man, and then bring them back out 4 months later, they taste better than they was when she first cooked them, right? If you got ears to hear, right? So continue to go over these accounts and read, and just like our forefathers did, they turned up with harps, cymbals, vials, hymns, right, before the Lord. I just wanted to bring that out.
And another thing, another part of this Monday Night Fire, just a quick point, is the Most High is not dealing with Memorial Day either, man. And today's Memorial Day. And if you celebrated Memorial Day, shame on you. If you threw that steak on the grill, right? Or if you kept it, well, I'm not really keeping Memorial Day. I'm just kind of, I know that there's assignment coming up, but I gotta have a Memorial Day too. You took your 12-ounce steak, threw it on the grill, man. You bought your damn mac and cheese, your shish kebab. You invited your family over, and you called like that Negro. What's this guy who calls himself King David, man? He probably kept Memorial Day. Now he could come out and say he didn't, but he kept Thanksgiving. So and you can't be in this truth celebrating worldly days, man. Right? Talking about, okay, it's Memorial Day. We doing it to remember the Most High. We're going to turn it righteous. You can't take Memorial Day and turn it to, okay, well, remembering the days of old. No, you have the days that the Most High gave you, man. Right? So, again, don't be out here celebrating Memorial Day and freaking off with this man system. Let me get one quick precept on that, man. Right? Putting your friends on, and you're on the grill right now. Oh, I'm just throwing something on the grill. Brother, you never grill, brother. But now you want to do it all of a sudden because it's Memorial Day. Right? And the Most High sees you, man. First, it's like in Matthew chapter 6 and 24. No man can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or else he will hold to the one and despise the other. Ye cannot serve the Most High and mammon. Right? And if you got called to go over your family house, you should have told them no, man. I'm not coming over. I don't celebrate Memorial Day. I don't follow the worldly holidays. I follow the law, statutes, and the commandments of the Most High. The day assignment comes up here. Let me tell you about that. Right? So you can't be serving this man's system Memorial Day, then a few days later, you're keeping the day assignment. That's just wickedness, man. And if you did keep Memorial Day, you need to repent. And come out of this man's system and stop being lukewarm and keep the covenant of old, man. We're reading about Simon, Mattathias, Judas, and the descendants of those men who were set up to liberate our people, man. And like we was going into earlier, Memorial Day is nothing but celebrating the wars of the so-called white man. Even though, you could say Jake started it, hey, guess what, man? It's still about the wars of Esau. So I want to make that point too. If you celebrate Memorial Day, which is today, shame on you, man. You need to repent and not do that again. Right? You got it, King.
I wanted to bring this out real fast. This Nahum chapter 1 and verse 15. Behold, upon the mountains, the feet of him that bringeth good tidings, that publish peace. O Judah, keep thy solemn feasts, perform thy vows. Right? So the Lord is telling you to keep the solemn feasts. So make sure that you're keeping the feasts, right? And you're keeping all of the things that the Lord has told us that we ought to from the foundation of the earth. Don't say it's not in the law, or I don't have to keep that. And Yahweh kept the feast, right, of dedication. Right? The Lord has paved the way and showed you that the accounts in Maccabees, right, the accounts that we're reading about, you have to still keep. It says, O Judah, keep thy solemn feasts, perform thy vows. Right? All of our forefathers, they've entered into a covenant, or all of our David made the creeds. Right? This day forth, this what we do. Right? And those vows and those decrees and those things don't just disappear just because they gave up the ghost. It says, for the wicked shall no more pass through thee. He is utterly cut off. Right? So continue to keep the solemn feast and do the will of the Most High, right? And turn up through the spirit and righteousness.
And the day of Simon, just touching on that real quick, the day of Simon is a day of gladness, right? It is not a Sabbath. Right? I want to make that point. So part of this is also how to keep it. You don't keep it the same way you keep the Day of Atonement, or you keep it the same way you keep the Passover. The day of Simon is not a Sabbath, right? So pursuant to, let me actually go back to that real quick. I want to touch on that point in First Maccabees chapter 13, right? Going back into that. So how do you keep this day, right? And quick precept, right? With mirth and gladness. Going back to this First Maccabees chapter 13 and 52, he ordained also that that day should be kept every year with gladness, right? So you have days of gladness when you read Numbers, the 10th chapter, right? So you got the blue letter cutting up. So I'm gonna have to go to Numbers. Let me use this again, right? In Numbers, the 10th chapter, right? You have solemn days, right? You have days of gladness. This is Numbers chapter 10 and verse 10. Also, and the day of your gladness, and in your solemn days, and in the beginning of your months, which are your new moons, ye shall blow with the trumpets over your burnt offerings and over the sacrifices of your peace offerings, that they may be to you for memorial before your God. I am Yahweh, your God. So you could blow the shofar on the day of Simon. It is a day of gladness, right? It is a day of mirth and joy. Purim are days of gladness. You understand? Destruction of Nicanor, that is a day of gladness, right? It's not a Sabbath, meaning the regulation or stipulation of no servile work is not enforced, right? It's not implemented in there. But you should, in wisdom, keep that feast day with all your might and all your mind and all your soul. So don't be keeping a day of Simon, but you're still kind of doing your work, right? For the so-called white man, and you're kind of cutting the grass, but you're keeping the day of Simon. You're cleaning out the attic, but you're keeping the day of Simon because doesn't say no work or no servile work. Yeah, it doesn't say that, but are you truly serving the Most High with all your heart, your mind, your body, and your soul? You should be totally invested into that feast day, man. Right? Hey, if you got a garment, hey, put your garment on, man. If you have the opportunity to congregate, you should be congregating, man. Hey, your family, your wife, your children, they should know about the day of Simon coming up. Hey, the spirit of Maccabees should be in your household, man. If you want to put decorations up, hey, you get decorations up. If you want to light the menorah, hey, light the menorah. Hey, you got the music, you put a playlist together, hey, get the playlist together. If you like lamb, hey, buy that lamb, man. If you like venison, get that venison, right? You got to get into this thing with your whole mind, your body, and soul, and it is a day of gladness. It's not a day when you, like we always say, thinking about your rent and your mortgage and your bills and all of the worries that you have to deal with, man. You block that out and you keep this day. You get in the spirit of our forefathers, just like we have always done through the spirit, right? And I want to get this real quick in Nehemiah 10 as well. I'll keep going to that, right? This is Nehemiah, the 10th chapter, right? This is Nehemiah chapter 10 and 31. So everyone knows, the expectations from Yahweh Hashem Yahushua, right? Nehemiah 10 and 31. And if the people of the land bring ware or any victuals on the Sabbath day to sell, that we will not buy of them on the Sabbath, so no buying on the Sabbath, or on the holy day, so no buying on the Passover, the Feast of Tabernacles, Pentecost, but these are also other holy days. No buying on the new moon, right? No buying on the memorial blowing of the trumpets, no buying on the Day of Atonement. And why weren't we buying on these days? Because Israel wasn't setting up shop, because they were keeping the feast day. You're not going to be able to keep the feast day if you're setting up your fish market, if you're setting up your jewelry store, if you're setting up to sell all of your garments, right? Because you're going to be busy handling business. So that's why we didn't buy on the holy day, because first and foremost, we were busy keeping the feast day. You had heathen that came in and tried to sell us things on a holy day, right? It wasn't really a custom for Israel. That's why it says, or on the holy day, and that we would leave the 7th year and the exaction of every debt. And then we wouldn't oppress Israel on a year of release, right? We're going to follow the laws through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashmi Yahushua, right? So no buying on the holy days, right? And keep it as a day of gladness and as a day of mirth, right? You got it, King.
Con, that's right. Right, that's right. But I get this quick precept.
Con.
In First Esdras, right? First Esdras chapter 9 and 50. Right. Now this is just the spirit of not to be sad, nor be overthrown and dwelling in your mind during these feast days. It says this day is holy unto the Lord, for they all wept when they heard the law. Go then, eat the fat and drink the sweet. It's not talking about literal fat. It's talking about eat good, man. Right? Eat the fat. Or you may have the fat of the land. That's not physically fat off of a beast of the land.
Right.
It says, and send part to them that have nothing. For this day is holy unto the Lord. Be not sorrowful. So the Lord don't want you to be sorrowful on the days that he's telling you to be glad for, man. Right? I mean, how much you got to kind of overpower and let Satan overthrow you for you to be sorrowful. I mean, music going to be playing, people going to be clapping, dancing, singing, laughing, playing cards, drinking responsibly, drinking a little wine, having fun through the spirit, talking about our forefathers. You got to kind of be in an off spirit to be thinking about work in the morning, man. Or thinking it's not time for that. It says, and be not sorrowful, for the Lord will bring you to honor. We want to be brought to honor before the Lord, man. We want to keep all of these feast days. It says, so the Levites publish all things to the people, saying this day is holy unto the Lord, be not sorrowful. Right? So as all of the days before us and all of the feasts of gladness and mirth, right? It's the same spirit of being glad, and not being sorrowful. So don't bring your problems and your stress until the feast day, man. Right? Because that's an evil spirit trying to keep you depressed and docile and low, and not to be able to enjoy, right, this one day out the year that the Most High has put of the destruction of our enemies, right, to glorify the works of the Most High through the hand of our forefathers. Con, you got it, King.
Yeah, and this could very well, Most High willing, right? We say it every year, and you're going to keep saying it. It could be the last day of Simon, man. It could be the last day of Simon, and every other day is about you, man. About what you have to do and your work and your hours and your bills and your plans and your motives. This day is about Yahweh Bashmi Yahushua, man. I don't want to keep that. Moses didn't say it, right? Well, that's an off spirit to have, man. Because I believe you said that Yahushua kept the feast of dedication. Our forefathers have customs and laws, man. I don't know about Simon. I mean, it's not Judas. I'm more of a Judas kind of guy. Simon, he's all right, but Judas, hey, look, man. No, keep this day, man. Like brother said, man, it's a mirth, man. Gladness and joy. And the Most High said, for the joy of Yahweh is your strength. Right? So when you have that joy in you, you're going to have zeal that comes with that, passion, drive, vision, motivation, and a yearning for more righteousness, man, and more things to bring about immortality. Right? And that's the spirit to pray for, man, because a lot of us dealing with sadness and sorrow, So pray that the Most High drives that far away. He says, sorrow hath killed many, and bringing carefulness and age before the time. Right? Sirach 38 and 8 on down. He says, drive it far away. Right? But you got it, King. If you want to bring out closing precepts, we can do that.
Okay, con. Yeah, I'm going to bring out Revelation chapter 3.
Nah.
Yeah, don't get tricked by Satan, to be sad during this time. Because, Satan chiefly, tries to attack you during the time of the feast days. On the Sabbath day, try to attack you on the new moon. Your car having problems, your tire go out, your woman going off, your children, running around, all hell start breaking loose, right? That's just Satan. Set your house in order. Do what you got to do through the spirit And don't let nothing stop you, right, from remembering this day. You got to look forward to these days. A lot of people, they look forward to certain days of the year in wickedness. We got to look forward to the days in righteousness. It's the book of Revelation, chapter 3, and verse number 2. It says, be watchful and strengthen the things that remain, that are ready to die. For I have not found thy works perfect before Yahweh. Right? So continue to watch. Right? Watching isn't just scrolling up and down on your timeline, man. Watching is in all things. It's your household, your brethren, right? Your spirit, the spirit that's on the earth, the spirit that the Most High has you in, like approaching the day of Simon, right? Be watchful and understand all these things. Remember, therefore, how thou hast received and heard, and hold fast and repent. If therefore thou shalt not watch, I will come on thee as a thief, and thou shalt not know what hour I will come upon thee. Right? So keep watch, because the Lord will visit you like a thief in the night and blow out your candlestick. Right? So continue to be diligent, right? And don't let anything take you out of this truth. You got it.
And I'm gonna get Revelation, the 22nd chapter, right, and verse 12. Revelation chapter 22 and verse 12. It reads, and behold, I come quickly, and my reward is with me, to give every man according as his work shall be. Right? We know the apostles, James said, show me your faith without your works, and I will show you my faith by my works. So again, your works show how much you truly believe and trust in Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua. And all of our works are going to be weighed in the balance to receive the things that we have done in this body, right? Whether they be good or bad, pursuing the 2 Corinthians chapter 5 and 10 on down. So examine your works, and your works, look at the things that Simon did, huh? That Simon did. Look at his mighty works. He strengthened things that were before. He cleansed things that were before. He cleansed his people. He brought peace in the land. The people were in order, right? He avenged himself. He avenged his heathen, right? He recompensed fully the heathen. He cleansed the land. He had mighty works. He built towers and memorials for his people. So that's exhortation and things that we have to charge ourselves to be like our forefathers, because Simon, he's one of the elect, and his name is immortalized. That's why we're keeping the day of Simon. And you have many days. There's no day of Nehemiah. There is no day of Paul. There is no day of John the Baptist, day of Elijah, the day of Moses. So for you to have one of your forefathers who has a day given to him by the Most High, you need to go read about this man. You need to go study this man and examine this man and apply this man's works into your life, because there's only one day assignment, But with that, we're going to close up, giving, of course, our honor and glory to Yahweh, by Shema Mashiach, like Yahushai, Brother Naquam.
Shalom, Brother Right.
Kwam Yashem. Shalom.